Hello, good evening. Nice to see you. To see you, nice. Welcome to live stream. I'm sorry, over the Christmas and New Year, I've been a little unreliable about turning up to the online sessions. I always try to put it somewhere to make it obvious for people, but like I'm sorry to make excuses, but a dyslexic should maybe never run a business. It's just a different way of functioning, and it just doesn't work often in the logical business way. And so I might remember to put on YouTube that I'm not doing a stream, but then I forget to put it on my website. Or if I put it on my website, there's a spelling mistake, or I put 2019 when it should be 2020. There always seems to be some little tiny mistake, so I apologise if I haven't been very clear. And there's been a couple of days I've just had to cancel because I'm staying at my mum's, and my mum's worn me out, and I'm just too tired. Like the other night, my mum went out to a party, and I was her chauffeur to pick her up. And by the time I picked her up, it was so late at night, and by the time I got to sleep, I was exhausted the next day. And the night before, I hadn't had much sleep as well, and I just couldn't do it. You know, when your eyes like are burning because you're so tired. Yeah, my apologies if I haven't. If you've turned up to the stream, and then there was one day I just forgot to do the stream. I think that was New Year's Day. I just forgot. I thought it was Tuesday, and it was Wednesday. So yeah, so hopefully I'll be a bit better now again. It's only twice I think I've forgotten in the whole 7 years I've done it now, and I think the other time was around Christmas as well. It was like New Year, it was like Christmas Eve or something, or the day after Christmas. Nice. So it's nice to see you all and to spend this time with you. Happy New Year. What else? Just a few little details that I would like to tell you about. There is another channel called Video Clips / Lisa Cairns, and it's such a beautiful channel, and it's not run by me, it's nothing to do with me. Somebody else, another gentleman called Osborne, he edits clips of my talks over the last 7 years, 8 years or 9 years. It's been 9 years, but I think 7 years since I've been regularly doing streams. But he edits all the talks, and he makes really beautiful little clips from really beautiful sections of the talks. He really selects lovely clips to do. And he's done hundreds and hundreds of these clips, and he uploads continuously throughout the week. And if you want to subscribe to his channel, it's Video Clips / Lisa Cairns, and it's really beautiful. There's something else. Oh yeah, and a couple of months ago, I put on my website, or a month ago, I put on a retreat that I'm doing this year, 2020. It's the only event that I've got arranged for sure at this moment in time, and that's on the 23rd of May in Hidden Paradise in the south of Spain, and it's now open for bookings. It's a really beautiful venue on. It's set out on a mountain edge, and it's really beautifully laid out. But it's an eco retreat center, so it's not, if you like high luxury experiences, it's not like that. It's eco. It's really beautiful. But when I stay there, I get to pick where I stay at the property, and I stay in a tree house, and some people stay in mud huts. Some people stay in really beautiful Spanish bungalows. There's all different variety of accommodation, and it's all solar panels. It's off grid. They collect their own water. The Wi-Fi is terrible, so it's not for everyone. Some people love it. If you're an outdoorsy type of person, you'll most probably love it. I really enjoy it. So yeah, that is open for booking. And I just tell you one reason that I go to this place is that, one, the owners are really, really beautiful and really lovely people, and they're more about passion than they are about business. And I really appreciate that. That's the same with myself, and they're more about being creative and helping people and assisting people on their retreats, and they're more interested in that than they are the business side of thing. Second, it's an eco retreat center, and I really appreciate that. They do really lovely vegetarian food. And thirdly is that they price it really fairly. It's getting more and more expensive in Europe and America and Western countries, and they make it so that I feel that everybody can participate, and it's not always possible for me to do that on my retreats, to find a venue which is also suitable for people with low income or student wages. So I think that's really beautiful. So it ranges from €595 if you're a student and on low wage, and that's for sharing room. And if you want a single room, it's $850. But with the discount ones, so I only have 5 discount places. So if you are wanting the discount ones, just be aware that there's not so many of them, so you'd need to sign up soon. Also, there is somebody that's offered to sponsor someone, and we did have someone that wanted sponsorship, but they've pulled out now. So there is also a gentleman that's willing to sponsor a participant if somebody needs sponsorship. And what qualifies as sponsorship is obviously someone that can't afford to go if they're not sponsored. Not somebody that's like just spent their money on other things. It's obviously someone that's in low wage or benefits, or a student. One of these. Not just spent their money elsewhere. They bought themselves a massive, like a Ferrari, and they're like broke now. And they're like, I'll take sponsorship. Yeah, and at the moment we only have one person offering to sponsor someone. So if that's of interest to you, please get in contact with Amelia. You can find all that on my website. Is there anything else? No, I think that's everything. So what I like to do before a talk is just sit silently for 5 or 10 minutes. So if you would join me in silence, I can take my glasses off now. my teaching assistant. Okay, so we start talking already. So today I named the talk Love. Now, let me just give you a bit of background as to why I named the talk Love. Basically, when it came to doing the live stream, I couldn't think of a title, so I was just like, let's just go for love. Why not? But I actually didn't have any topic in mind. I'm just going to turn my mum's halogen lights out. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're like buzzing. Like, better. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I don't know if you've got halogen lights, but sometimes they have a little bit of a hum to them. So basically, when I started out doing this talk this evening, I couldn't think of a title, so I just decided to slam on love, because that seems to fit all circumstances. How to help the world, love. How to get on with your partner, love. What's spirituality about? Love. How to stop wars? Love. How to deal with a narcissist? Love. How to train a dog? Love. What is the creator of the universe? Love. You know, it works for every situation. Love. My mum was just in the hallway, like, getting stuff out of her bag. And there was a part of me that felt a little embarrassed then speaking in front of her, like, the nature of everything, love. Look what my mum must make of me talking about this subject. Like, we're so ordinary together. If anything, we don't talk about this subject at all. If they talk about anything profound, it's normally politics, which we really talk about very little. But I just try to, and the only bit we talk about in politics is I just try to make it quite clear from my perspective that hard right core politics is not okay from my perspective. England can have a tendency sometimes in the older generations to have quite hard right politics, where they're like, bloody immigrants. It's all the immigrants' fault. This country's falling to bits because of all them immigrants. So that's the only thing that we talk about. Very rarely. And that to me is alternative. Oh, and sometimes we talk about alternative makeup or deodorants or stuff like that. But nothing else. And so we don't talk about this subject. Sometimes we talk about, no, we don't talk about anything about it. So the fact that she's there and she can hear me so blatantly, it's a little bit like it's like talking to your mum and dad about sex, you know, something that you prefer not to do. So to me, so what is love? Like, there's different forms of love. Like, love means so many things. I remember when I was younger watching this film called Waking Life. I'm sure it's not profound to me anymore, but I remember at the time when I was like 22 or 23 and I was just coming out of university, and I just thought it was so profound that they had this whole massive section on love and how love has a different meaning to everyone. And it's not a reality, it's like multiple meanings, and that everyone can interpret love dependent on their biology and their chemicals and the way they're made up differently. You got it. Kiss. Did you get it? What am I dribbling on about? I'm just all dribble. Love. So love can have so many multiple meanings to it, dependent on what you're talking about and dependent on your particular experience with love and how you interpret love. So, to me, non-duality is love. And what is non-duality? It's seeing the creator of this life. So the creator of this life is not a thing, is no thing, and simultaneously all things. And that there isn't an independent doer that's creating life, and that's doing life, that's living its life separately from all other things. And that's a profoundly different way to look at life. And most people walking around this planet really believe that they're responsible for their life and that other people are responsible for their life. And they're constantly in these 5 dynamics. This is from Ramesh and Roger, if you don't know. Blame, guilt, shame and pride, expectation. That's it, that's 5. And that's quite big. Blame and guilt, pride and shame, and expectation. All of those feelings, you can see that most of them are what we describe as suffering. Maybe not pride. We'd think, oh yeah, pride is great, but it comes with its best friend, its opposite, shame. And actually, when you really get into it, pride doesn't feel that good. Like feeling better than another person. It can be nice feeling, like there can be pride that has positivity that isn't from suffering. So Ramesh and Roger would say that by believing that you're a doer, So having this dynamic that you're the doer, then there is these side effects, thoughts and ideas and energies that arise in the body, and that leads to suffering. And I don't disagree with that at all. I still think that, unlike Ramesh and Roger, I still think that it's important to have these feelings to an extent. And to me, it's this falling away of this separate energy, and those feelings become reduced. But I still think they're important to an extent. Like to feel guilty if you run over a neighbour's cat, to feel shameful if you do a big poo in the middle of the town square. But the extent to which most humans feel it is on a different level. Like I separate myself on a human level a lot from society. Maybe everybody does actually. There's this big society out there which we all don't engage with. We're all like careful. But I live quite remotely and I just don't engage, I think, in the normal ways that a lot of people do. But when I do, I really begin to realize that a lot of people are really suffering. Like it's very rare that you meet somebody that's happy. They might have moments of happiness, but a lot of the time there's a lot of mental anguish going on. And they might not even be conscious of it. It's just, you can just hear it from the way they're talking. They're moaning about things or bitching about their partner. Let me have an itch for you. Was it itchy there? Is it? You better not have fleas, Missy, again. Oh, you not got fleas, have you, again? And so what are these feelings? So you've got guilt and blame. These are quite obvious. And they're actually the same, guilt and blame. It's just that we've got the internal feeling of guilt and the externalized blame. So you've got this sense that I'm guilty, I've done something wrong, I'm bad. And then you've got the outside, that the outside is guilty and they're bad. But they're kind of the same because you imagine yourself, you create yourself, and then you also create the external out there. You might not think that. Maybe you're listening to me and you're like, you what? I create the person out there. You having a laugh, are you? Well, no, actually, when you come to look at it, you'll begin to realize that your brain is creating everything that it sees, not only the other people, but also the shape in which you see the sofa, the space, the distance, the colors. Somebody even told me once, I don't know if this is true, but that we see it upside down. And our brain like transforms it the other way around, like our eyes see upside down. Quite funky, eh? So we have this this blame for these others, but the way in which you imagine the others is only in relationship to a you that you imagine to be yourself. And they're actually the same functioning of the brain, the you and the other. There isn't actually you or the other. There is just life happening, just energy happening, appearing as multiple forms. And there's this thing called consciousness, which is experiencing, but consciousness doesn't belong to someone. Most people are in the idea that consciousness belongs to me, and I am a someone in which that belongs to, and they are someone that in which that belongs to. But consciousness is, you could say, a functioning of life, a way in which life experiences itself. And the source of life is no thing appearing as all things. No thing appearing as all things. Dookie 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 dook dook dook. Booby doop boop 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 boop. Yes. So we've got this blame and guilt that are all imagined. It doesn't mean though that, like I was think with these teachings that you need an extent to guilt, but it's just like how out of control that guilt gets. So you need it to an extent to feel like if you didn't have any feelings arising in the body, then you wouldn't be able to navigate and narrate, you know, like killing someone's dog or cat or smashing up someone's TV would have no implications for you. So the body needs to have some of that, but who you are doesn't have it. So normally it's this idea that I'm someone that's guilty, and then you have this idea of who you are, you have this image of who you are, and then this idea of a person that's going through time that is guilty, that did things wrong. But what a relief it is to hear that you've never done anything wrong. It's all fictional. You could never have done anything differently. And all of us, by the time you got to 40, I'm 40 this year, I'm currently 39, I'm 40. Somehow though, bizarrely, Khaleesi once was younger than me, but now she's older than me. So I'm 40, but she's going to be something like 50 this year. So I'm now the younger of the relationship, which has kind of changed our dynamics a little bit. She's trying to be more mature. I'm trying to be more stupid and childlike. We're not sure if we can get on with that though. You know, she was used to being the child. It's kind of strange to change, you know, to grow older than your mother. Isn't it? Isn't it, Easy? Look at her. She's doing her maturity thing at the moment. Isn't it, Khaleesi? It's kind of a bit odd to grow older than your mother. She's like, look, Lisa, this is not a serious conversation. I'm not having this conversation with you now. I'm resting. Yes. Also making sure there's no squirrels coming into the garden. I keep putting it back on. I might be missing my head. I might not even be able to see me. Let's have a look. Yes, you can see me. So this idea that you are guilty, I'm sorry, I've distracted myself. What I was trying to say was, by the time you get to 40 years old, you know, if you're a nice new 20-year-old to this planet, you might not have fucked up too many things yet. By the time you've got to 40, you've made some freaking mistakes. And you, Khaleesi, I mean, you're 50 now, so I don't know how many mistakes you've made. Well, you've killed quite a few animals and then left me to clean it up. Have to pay fines and do all that kind of thing, eh? That's the olden days, though. You've put that behind you. Yeah, so by the time you get 40, by the time you get to 80, you're like, oh, fucking hell. I need a new body, man. I've made so many mistakes. But the most amazing thing about non-duality is it's like, you know that little game you used to play where it wipes it clean? Because it was never you that made any mistakes. You're not guilty. You didn't treat your dog badly or your kids badly or were unkind to your parents or lost the house or lost your money or upset this person or made sex videos with your partner or what else is there? Shot your wife's lover or crashed the car into something you shouldn't crash it into or blew up the house. I don't know what mistakes people make. Everyone makes mistakes. Tried to dupe the tax person. Lied to your partner, cheated on your partner. It goes on, the human mistakes. It goes on and Ariston. Left your children. I mean, I'm just brainstorming here. Left your children. One came to me. Yeah. Screwed up your children. Didn't read your children good time stories. Smacked your children on the booty, and now smacking is all bad. You know, endless the mistakes that humans could have made. So, and we think that that's really our fault. And so therefore our mind goes over how you could have done it differently, why you should have done it differently. And through time, a feeling grows in your body called guilt. Our initial guilt is identification. That's what humans feel most guilty about, is that you lost source, you separated from God, and you lost home. And then it goes into life, you know, feeling guilty about this or that, or this or that, or this or that. Or that or this. Maybe you feel like you wasted your life, or whatever it is, or you didn't really act out your life, or you never really did anything, or you were scared of your life, whatever it is. And so that's maybe going a bit more into shame, that you didn't do enough things. Guilt is more an action that you've done that you feel bad about. And then it becomes a block in your chakras. And then that block encourages thinking, because the thinking wants to get rid of the block, but then that thinking encourages the block. So then you feel like pain in your heart or pain in your neck. And it gets worse as you get older, the more that you invest in it. You keep trying not to be guilty and to be the good person, and then you screw up and you do something, and then the guilt comes back again. And it's the same with the blame. So you tend to get different personality types, but also people oscillate between blaming or feeling guilty. So you've got others then that are always blaming others, and they're innocent. And it's because they're afraid of guilt. They're afraid of feeling like they've done something wrong. So then they're always blaming the other. But it's actually the same, but just external. It just is that you're the victim that has been hurt by all these bad perpetrators that are out there. And nobody's been hurt by a perpetrator. Nobody. No matter what's happened to you, whether you've been raped, whether you've been murdered. I doubt you'd be listening if you've been murdered, but you never know. Ghosts could be listening. Whether you've been mugged, or someone's stolen from you, or your partner's cheated on you, or left you with the kids, you've actually never been perpetrated on. You've never been perpetrated. It's not true what your mind says. Like all of that action is God's will. So Aruna from the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's Aruna, when he has to go to war and fight against his family, he says, God, why are you making me do this? Why are you making me kill my family? And God replies, you're not killing your family, I am killing your family. And that's really beautiful. This to me is love. I know it maybe sounds like to some people, but it's actually love to see that there's never anyone guilty for any actions. It's beyond forgiveness, this. This isn't about you forgiving yourself or forgiving the other. You're seeing past it all. The life is the movement of one energy. So with trees, if a tree fell over, say there was a big storm and a tree fell over and knocked another tree over, or knocked a couple of trees over, the tree wouldn't be laying there thinking, I'm guilty, I fell on my friends and I've killed them and I've hurt them. It wouldn't even see that it's nature, it just would be. But we as humans can see that that just happened. There is nobody that's guilty in that. It's a series of events that happened. And it's the same for the other person. So that person that you're blaming, they couldn't help do what they did. So nobody's guilty. But it's very scary to see that, because we're so indoctrinated to believe that ourself is guilty or the other is guilty, and it's about control. It's actually about society and how we live together in a group and controlling each other. And we're so terrified of not being controlled. Amazing. We're so terrified of not being slaves and being told how to behave. But in this moment, what do you have? Right here, what do you own? What do you have? You're not guilty. You're not your past actions. You're not your future actions. You're just what's happening. Just here, right now. In this, free, wide, expansive. Not someone watching or someone experiencing. It's just a happening. The experience and the experiencer aren't separate. The hearing and the heard aren't separate. The looking and the looked at aren't separate. In this moment, there is no divisions. There's no past, there's no future. There's thoughts and images about past and future, but there isn't actually past or future. There is simply this moment. Simply what's happening. Hello? I have to always check that my audio is still on. Hello? Yes. I'm not sitting here talking for like 10 hours and then it's off. This is love to me. And what else have we got? We've got shame and we've got pride. So shame is more like what other people. Guilt is feeling guilty for what you've done to someone. Shame is more about how you look to other people. To me, it's more about what other people think about you. And pride is also about what people think about you. And again, these feelings are necessary to me to have them in the body. Like, it's nice to be proud about how nice your house looks or something. But when you identify with it, then it becomes something for you, and then you're better than someone else. So pride could be a lot in competing against others, wanting to be better than others, wanting to be more enlightened than others. Like, I see a lot of pride on Facebook. I personally don't really like Facebook and these types of things. But people like really going at it with, this isn't true non-duality. There is no body. Yeah, I can't suddenly do it now. And then, yes, but da da da, and they fight. I can't quite think of what they say. There's always a reason as to why I or the other person on Facebook is wrong and they're right. And it's not to do with discussion, it's to do with having a position and being better than. And then also the shame is the opposite to that. So when somebody beats you in that argument, you feel shameful. Or when you suddenly are nobody, and you're arguing that you're nobody, and then suddenly you erupt in anger, and then everyone says, ah, you are someone, then there's like real shame about it. And that can even go down to the details of like trying to be a peaceful person because you want to be enlightened. That can become in shame and pride. And then you've got the last one as expectation. And the expectation contains like worry and anxiety. It's the expectation which could be good, like expectation to win the lottery, or it could be bad expectation that you're going to get in trouble by a tax person, or you've done this or that wrong. And that's like all about future thinking. And it's all mind-made from this idea that you are the doer. And what's great about that teaching, what I used to really like about that teaching, was it made me saw bullshit thoughts. Like if you're, like there's nothing wrong with like when someone comes in and says, oh, how beautiful your house is, to feel all proud about it. Like that seems quite balanced to me and that's nice and sweet. But it's when you are excessively thinking about these things that there is obviously a problem there. Or there's obviously attachment to it. It could also just be a past trauma rising up as well. Like I still get past traumas rising about different things. And that doesn't necessarily mean separation. It can just be that there's an energy stuck in the body from when you were separated. But the great thing about this teaching is what it does is it shows you, you know, what's not true. On the ultimate level, everything's not true. Everything you think and feel isn't true. But these are very specific, that if you're blaming someone for hours about their action, that there's obviously a past trauma in you, or you're identifying with being someone. And both of them, there can be an exploration. I could say you could explore, but then you've got to question who could explore. So it can be an exploration of the identification or of the feelings in the body, but also be conscious that who would explore that? Who is this person exploring? Who are you? There's an appearance of someone exploring, but that's not you. That's an appearance happening, like the trees blowing in the wind, or the sun shining, or the clouds, or the room, or the sound of my voice. That's not actually someone. And this, to me, that's love. It's so beautiful. Love is this collapse of separation, that you are an independent entity with free will and choice. Who is this person? There is simply life happening for no one, just a happening. It appears, actions appear, and they appear through your particular genes and conditioning. So I behave like Lisa, you behave like Tom, Dick or Harry, Elspeth or Phyllis or Louise. But that's not you. That's not you. That's not you. That's a happening. Who are you? Who you are is mystery, is endless possibilities. It's something that never can be defined. And this is freedom in this life. It's such suffering when you identify with being a person and you identify with your actions. Okay, we go to some questions now. I feel like I never anymore encourage people to call in, and it's also really beautiful when people want to call in. So if you want to call in and speak to me, there are rules. Please make sure you have a headset and a microphone. And it doesn't need to be anything really complicated. Here's the one I use. It's just an Apple one with a little microphone. And make sure you have good internet connection. So then it's not like really echoey for other people. Sometimes when Osborne uploads those videos that I told you about from that video clips channel, I sometimes listen to some of them, and they're older ones from when I didn't insist that people had like microphones and good internet, and sometimes it really hurt your ears. The Skype connection making all types of sounds. So not just for me, but for other people. Make sure you have that. But if you want to call in, just write, "Can we speak?" And I will call you when I'm ready, when I go through the questions. Okay. So this is from S. Surek22 Demo. I trust you. Sorry for my English. 5 or 10 minutes. I feel the 1,000 kilometers away. The dog, love, great idea. It works. I was a narcissist. Sorry. A womanizer. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. Oh. I'm like you. I experience good vibrations. Don't speak. I'm 44. You're very beautiful and sexy. I'm like you. I'm not sure what you're... Wow, that's a lot of words. I'm not sure if you've really got a question. I think you're just commenting. But sometimes it's really... I appreciate people complimenting me, saying I'm beautiful or sexy. That's really nice to hear, you know. Not saying that I look like a dog shit. That's nice. But I just feel like I'm just going to try a different approach, that I am in a serious relationship, and when I say serious, like we're very happy together, and that's not going to break, and it's very committed, and I just say that because sometimes I think it's easy to watch someone on the internet and then get these ideas and these love feelings, especially when they speak about non-duality, and then it gets projected my way. And if they knew my reality, that I'm very settled and very happy, and you know, it's a waste of energy to imagine anything happening with me. What I would say and encourage, though, which I think is really beautiful, and this is Tantra, is like use it. So if you, whoever you fancy, or if you have energy towards them, use it and suck it back into yourself. So rather than looking out there to get something, like when you see something that's really beautiful, like me and my mum were walking around London yesterday, and there's so many places that are so beautiful. We were in the theatre and it was like made of gold and marble. And rather thinking I would like that for me, just like really appreciating it and owning it in you, like seeing its beauty but not needing to hold on to it or take from it or in any way. It's just like appreciating it for what it is, that you're complete, you don't need anything else. And I just say that thing about relationship because I don't often talk about these things. I used to, and then I realized that wasn't the answer to it either. But sometimes I think maybe it's better that I do say it, and then it's sort of like a relief. You realize, like, okay, there's no way that anything's going to happen with her. Like, me and my partner are super, super sweet together. It's not breaking. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right thing to say. It's hard to know with these things. This is from Sun, why does life exist? Why does all this exist? With the right music and sounds, all life Why are we humming so much? What is going on? We've got a big hum. You don't need to have such a hum. What am I doing wrong? There's something I'm doing wrong. Nope, that's not right. Maybe I've got this on too bright. See if that helps. Okay. Then, with the right music and sounds, all life gets in tune and sattvic qualities start arising and life gets beautiful. Then what was all that suffering that was there just a few moments ago? All a dream? And why? Why all this? Also, once I went to the dentist and the pain in the teeth was one of the most intense pains I had in my entire life. I know, dentistry pain is really intense. A few years ago, I had my wisdom teeth out and I had talks booked 2 weeks after I had my teeth out. My God, the pain. 2 weeks later, it was still like agony to talk or to laugh or to eat. It's because it's right here and you use your face a lot. To put my sun hat on. Also, once I went to the dentist, so I tried all techniques like mantras, non-duality in my mind, telling myself I am the mother to the world, I am not the body, I am not the mind, different mantras, nothing working, nothing at all worked. So then what's the point of these non-dualities? Although when I'm fine, I love it, but shouldn't it work when we are in very intense situations, such as intense pain in my teeth I was going through? Although I watched the pain, but truthfully the pain was stronger than my observing. So I realized the body's health is the foundation of non-duality. Can you please share something about this? I'm just going to change the display on my computer so it doesn't hiss so much. So when I hear that question, the energy of the question, which is totally okay, and there's nothing I'm not meaning to criticize you about this, but the energy of the question feels like one of those questions it feels like one of those questions that's like a victim story. And when I was reading it out, I'm not sure if anybody could feel that energy, that it's a story that's related to poor me. I could answer those questions, but it's kind of pointless because it's actually just a state of mind that you're talking about. It's not actually about that question. You see, you could say the same about money. Like, why is it that I feel good when I get money and then I feel bad when I don't get money? Or why is it that I feel good when I get pleasure and I feel bad when I don't, when I get pain? And basically, it's all mind activity, and you're believing in a mind activity, and there's a feeling that's related to it of disempowerment, that you can't control life, and that comes from the solar plexus. And so you're believing in this feeling of being disempowered and the thoughts that come along with it, and you think that has truth in it. And then you ask me the question and you expect me to answer on that level. So you expect me to answer and say some non-duality quotes like to make you feel better. But what's the point? It's deeper than that. It's not about giving you an intellectual answer. It's about you seeing through the illusion of this dream, that it's not true, that you're stuck in a dream world of you, believing that You feel better when you do these mantras and worse when this happens. But who did? So what you can do is, when these thoughts coming up going nothing works, is feeling that feeling how disempowered and scary and out of control that feels, that you can't control your life, that you can't make something work. And just allow it to be there. And there, in all of it, when you stop running, is the freedom. When you have these good feelings, so when you do the mantras and you think positively, you get pleasure, and then the seeking disappears and you think that's it. It is, in the sense, the seeking disappears, but it's something that you won't hold on to. It will come and go. Thank you for your question, son. Is it true? Hello, is it true? Question for live stream. Yes. How do you explain non-duality to a very young person who has to learn basic concepts and believe in them? Another question. Is non-duality something out there which exists separate from the world? No, non-duality is all, the entire world. It's not separate from the world. It is everything that's appearing in it. What the human thinks, though, is that they are separate from all the other appearances in this dream, whereas you're not. If you just look at it from a scientific perspective, you'll see like that your whole body is made up of the same of everything else. Like inside us there's these atoms, and inside there's protons and neurons. I always get that mixed up with the fertilizers. Maybe I did again then. And inside of that is quarks and smaller particles. And that all of those are building blocks that make all these different appearances. But it's all made from the same when you break it down. And when you go into the smallest possible particle that there is, and you break inside, you realize that there's nothing there. That the source of everything is no thing, not a thing. Not nothing like a black hole like we're imagining it, not a thing. And yet it is all things. So how to describe this to a very young person when they have to learn basic concepts and believe in them? Je ne sais pas. I do not know. I do not know how you do that. You know, just go with what you feel from an expanded place. See what comes. And it's their destiny, you know. You could tell somebody about non-duality and you could take them to all these satsangs, and then it can screw up their identity, and they could be identified to an screwed up identity that believes they're no one, you know. It's destiny. Or they could be totally free and blissed out. It is unknown. Thank you for your question. Hi Osborne. Hi Lisa. Are you planning to arrange a retreat in Germany, Paris, this summer? No, we're not planning to organise one there. It was really beautiful and I loved it last year. But no. A friend of mine wants me to do a retreat with him. He teaches Tantra, and then I would teach non-duality, and we're thinking maybe we do that in August. But wonderfully, for me, they organise the whole retreat, and I'm just an invited teacher, which is so fantastic because there's a lot organising a retreat. So not being that person, I'm just invited. It's nice. Lars. Hello, Lars. Hello, Happy New Year to you and Khaleesi. Did you have a question, Lars? No. Hello, Nick. Hello, Enjoy. Love you. Oh, thank you, Joy. Love you too. Hello, John. How does a retreat work? Do we get to hang out with you, or we do the satsangs and each one goes their own way? Is your mum enlightened? My mum is endarkened. Haha. Retreat. Do you get to hang out with me? No, not really. I just do the talks and then we eat lunch together and sometimes we play games or we watch films or TV. But normally when I'm doing retreats, it's a lot of work for me. So when I'm not doing the talks or running it, like it's a lot running a retreat energetically and verbally, I'm resting or walking Khaleesi. Khaleesi comes on the retreats. But yeah, don't come with the expectation that I can hang out with you. I'm working full time. For you, it's like a holiday. For me, I really enjoy it. But for me, it's if you've ever run a workshop, even just for a weekend, you'll understand. Like, and then after I've done the talks, we often go for lunch. And by that time, I'm really like, I can't talk anymore because I've just done 2 or 3 hours of talking. So yeah, but it's really relaxed and it's not like really like you have to do this or you have to do that. It's like I do talks and I try to make it as suitable for the group that's currently there. So I allow people to vote on what we do on activities. And it's a really beautiful environment and people hang out with each other at the swimming pools and become friends. Hello, dear Lisa. Nice to see you. Hi, Simon. Hello, Ronald. Hello, Lisa. Happy New Year. Nice that you are live again. Good luck and health for you. Best regards. I left out love today. Happy New Year to you too, Ronald. Oh, sorry, Roland. Hi, Wesley. Nice to hear from you, Wesley. Glad you're back. Can we do a conversation? Sure, Wesley. Let's speak. Let me just plug in my headset. Yes, cool, please. Hello?
Hello.
Where is your volume coming from? Hello, sorry. Hey, Wesley.
The volume's coming from...
Oh, no, sorry. I just meant on my side of things. Sorry,
oh.
just 1 second. Just see what's going on here. It's meant to go through a certain default speakers. Black hole. Now just try to speak for me, please.
Okay, can you hear me? How's the volume?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's good, but it's not going through. Just speak again for me.
Great.
Can I just quit Skype and call you back? So often when there's problems with technical stuff, I'll just call you back in 1 second. Ya da da, ya da da, boopy doopy doopy doop, hoopy 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 up. I don't know why it's not doing it. Yeah. Hello. Hi, yeah, it's in the wrong place, but I don't know if that necessarily matters. Let me just have a look. Like, I mean, it does matter. It's not perfect.
I can't hear you if you're speaking.
Sorry? Hello?
I don't know if you hear me or not.
Yeah, I can hear you. But I wonder if people hear you double. Let me just see what it's like for other people.
Hello,
Oh,
hello.
well. Hello. It's just that you're going through. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't need to describe it to you. Okay, let's just try. If other people, if it's really terrible audio, just please let me know on Skype, because what might be happening is they're getting like a feedback through Skype and then through my. Oh, I know what's wrong. Hello? 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 That's better.
Hello?
Yeah, worked out. I just had my microphone.
Hello?
Hello, I had it plugged into the wrong place. So you listen to me on Skype, you don't listen to me on live stream now. The live stream
really
is behind.
Shoot.
You can't hear me? So just turn off the live stream.
I don't know what to say. Guess that's...
Hang on a sec, I know what the problem is. Audio and video settings. So the microphone should be built-in microphone. Hello. Okay, there we go. Oh man. Lucky I'm a genius.
Hello?
Hello, I think I've worked it out. Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Barely. Let me see something here.
Is it on your side or my side? That's the thing that's difficult to work out.
Okay. How about now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. What's going on? I think this will work.
Yeah. I can kind of hear a little bit of feedback from me, but it's okay, I don't mind. And you're listening to me through Skype?
Oh, there we go. Now it's perfect.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh dear. Thank you for thanks for putting in the effort to make the call happen.
No, it was before. I think there was a problem on your side, but before that, it was me. I'd got my headset plugged into the wrong place. I have lots of places it could be plugged, and I forget we change like the system. It's constantly updating. We change it, and then I was in the wrong place. Nice. So how are you, Wesley? Nice to hear you speaking.
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. A lot has changed in the past weeks since we spoke.
Yeah.
And something in your talk at the beginning kind of made me think of, I don't know if you've heard, maybe I'm not pronouncing it right, but he's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of him.
And he has this idea of interbeing, I think is what he calls it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm guessing it's not original to him. I'm thinking it's a Buddhist concept, but the example he uses, and I think this connects to the idea of there being no center and the experience of no doership. But he talks about, if you look at a flower, what we label as a flower, no matter how close, no matter how far back you get, you'll never find the letters FLOWER.
Yeah.
And the more you penetrate into what is this flower, you find that it's made up of non-flower elements. So it's really it's more of a verb. It's more of an activity of the
Yeah.
clouds and the rain and the soil and the sunlight and the
Yeah,
seed.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's this kind of it's it's
Yeah.
like yeah, it's an activity of
It's a doing.
consciousness.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It is a doing, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the closest I can think. That's what comes up when I think about the experience here for me currently is it feels very much just that everything is it's like it's there's just no boundaries.
Yeah.
um, it's like everything is the same dimension, the thinking happening, the movement happening, the feelings happening. It's just there's no it's just it's empty, I guess.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I just kind of wanted to mention that. And
It's beautiful.
actually, yeah, I actually have a question. So my am I taking too much time?
No, not at all, no.
Okay. So the mind has become, and the belief system has really just become very empty and almost too empty. Um, there's moments just where I feel so merged with things that it's really kind of disorienting. Like I'll forget where I am, or at the grocery store, it was like I found myself in the cereal aisle, and it was like 3 minutes or something had gone by. Um, it just, I just
Yeah.
very, very empty.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit dysfunctional that way, but I've noticed that um, there's this, I think I may have talked to you about it, but a real dense knot of energy in the stomach. And it feels like it's like the root of the identification with the body. It's like the thoughts and the emotions have kind of just emptied out or become very transparent, very liquid, I guess. But then there's this real, seems like the identification with the body is kind of the last. And who knows? I know increasingly less every day, but I just wanted to see if
Yeah.
you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah. Whereabouts do you feel that knot in your body? Did you say your stomach?
Yeah, in the stomach area, and I guess kind of right around the navel, and kind of almost like it's like a deep clenching. It's like if I were to put words to it, it's like resistance itself, or separation itself, or know itself, something like that.
Yeah. So in Buddhism, the way I heard this area described, like I can also describe it from a chakra position, but another way is that I heard the Buddhists describe it as the place of emptiness. So the place of the heart is where the I am is where beingness is, and then emptiness comes from the navel. And like the images in Chinese Buddhism of the Buddha having a really big stomach. Like
Yeah.
so he sits there and he meditates and he's really like the fat Buddha, like really big. And that's meant to
Yeah.
represent like the hara, this hara, which is this place of emptiness, and like how big and how empty it is. Like so I would say like that does have relevance, like if that's what you're talking about. Like it is so empty, life is so empty, there's nothing there. And it does feel like in the body it does manifest in a way in the hara, like this big spacious emptiness. Like every time you breathe in, that breath goes on endlessly. And then from the chakra position, so just remember everything I say isn't right. I can't quite put anything in words, and I can't really be correct, but what I can do is point to things, and then something can unravel or something can get
Yeah.
undone. And so just whatever touches you in this. So then from the chakra perspective, like this is the place of creativity and sexuality. And this, you could see it from a tantra perspective of where life starts. So the sexuality, like when two people make love, it like creates new life out of nothing. And so you could also see this place as where all life comes from, like that creative energy comes from. So in Tantra, they would say that Shiva, this consciousness, is the emptiness, and then Kali dances on his lap. Or some people call it Shakti. Like the way I know it is Kali dances on his lap, and that's meant to mean the life. And it's when these two forms come together that life actually takes place. So so on both sides, from the perspective of the hara and the emptiness, and then the perspective of sexuality and creativity, is this really profound spot.
Yeah, it feels very profound. It feels very primal, if I could say that.
Yeah, the beginning of things. And when it's in that contracted state, so when it's really like tight and painful, it's often related to fear of survival and fear of creativity. So it is like the base fear of the person.
Yes,
because if you can't be creative, you can't survive. Like that's how humans survive, is through creativity. We're not like the lion that just goes out and hunt. We have to create. Yeah.
It feels like existential terror. To be honest, it feels like a death, I guess. Yeah,
and that's you could say humanity's collective fear. Like yesterday, I went into London. Have you ever been to London before?
I have.
In England, I think you've got a London in America, haven't you?
Oh, is there?
I think so. But England's London.
Yes, I've been.
Yeah. So I went to London. I was having lunch with my mum. We were there all day. And I just felt like we were sitting in this dining hall, like listening to everyone talk, and I'm really tapping into the energy. That everyone is so terrified of being alive.
Mm.
Like it could all be my projection. We never know at the end of the day what's what. But it felt like I was just tapping into the energy of the room. And so that energy that you feel there is what what you've grown in. Like society is terrified of being alive and terrified of dying.
Yes.
And so there is this like profound, deep terror of this thing called life, because everything can be taken away. And what you're most afraid of actually is not death and not everything being taken away. What you're afraid of is the unknown.
Mm.
But the thing is like you described what Thich Nhat Hanh said about the flower, is that we've actually created the known. Our nature has always been the unknown. We've created the idea of flower, the idea of being alive, the idea of being dead, the idea of fear. We've created all of that. So our nature is the unknown. It's like what we're really afraid of is ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, so this is maybe pushing it a bit, but I'm just curious if you if there was a point where if you experienced that clenching. It seems like it's maybe a universal thing, and if there was a point where that sort of emptied out or released.
Yeah. This thing happened to me in Bali that was really shocking. I've spoken about that many times. Like when I was 30, I was in this cafe in Bali, and something happened that was really profound. And there've been lots of things building up to that. But after that happened, there seems to be a working through like old karmas in the body. So there still can be like contractions and difficulties that happen in chakras in the body. And like yesterday when I was sitting in the cafe, like the way that I feel other people's energies is as if it's my own. Like it's not like there's these other people out there that are having energies and I'm in relationship. It feels like my own energy in a way, not mine as Lisa, but mine as life. So there's still like a foot in the door that knows these types of things, but there is this shift that happened. But in saying all of that, just notice what the mind does, that the mind is waiting and looking for an end, and just notice the illusion of that. So the trick of that and the game of that, like that in the way you're asking that question, I answer it because I want to be honest with my experience, but I don't. But also just notice the game in it. That the mind looks for an end. Your essence doesn't look for an end. Your essence doesn't look for a start, and that's all that you are, is this unknown mystery right here. And it's just keep showing up to it and keep delving into that you can handle that existential fear. It's not your enemy, it's actually your gift. It's actually what's knocking on you, like knocking on the door, keeping you into this subject. If that kind of like, if it lessened by like 80%, then you'd go out and seek for pleasure again.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Wesley. It's really nice to speak to you.
You too.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Mariana. Could you speak about the difficulties to bear animal suffering and abuse throughout the world and each day? Is there an illusion in the suffering I feel? It seems unbearable. Thanks, Marina. Animal abuse, I meant. Yeah. So, like, there's different ways I could answer that, but who is it that you see that's being abused? Like the animal that you see that's being abused, that you imagine that's being abused, is not what's being abused. That's your personification of the animal, like seeing yourself in that animal, like seeing a human in that animal. So whatever you imagine onto the animal isn't true. So when I was in Thailand, when I got Khaleesi, after I left Australia like many years ago, I tried to live in Asia for a couple of years and realized that I would just be the animal person. Like when I got Khaleesi, I used to walk on the beach every day with her and had 14 dogs following me. It was a shame I didn't have an iPhone or anything then. I never recorded any of this. I used to go swimming with them every day, and so I'd be swimming, and not all of them swam with me, like, but sometimes I'd be swimming and then 8 dog heads would be following me in the water. And there was this one time I led them onto this little ledge, and we all stepped in sea anemones, so they used to follow me, and I led them to this like little island, sort of, it wasn't very far away from the beach. And as I got out, I stepped on sea anemones, and then they all followed me and stepped on sea anemones, and we were all laying like on the beach like, ah! It doesn't last very long, those ones that stung us, the pain of it. But yeah, I never recorded any of that. It was so cute. But anyway, when I was in Thailand, one day I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she lived on the beach, and she used to feed this, she had 3 dogs of her own, and she used to feed this dog, and this dog came over to see us to get some food. We were eating in a cafe, and when it went back across the road, after we'd fed it, it got hit by a motorbike and squashed, and it didn't die, and it like was, it ran into a shop, and it was crying, and it was bleeding everywhere, and it died later on. It was in a real mess, and I went and picked it up, and we went to take it to the rescue centre so it could be given morphine, and if it could survive, then they could make it better. And before I had this shift, I would have seen this animal as like this poor homeless animal that no one had ever loved and no one had ever given a chance in life, and it was abandoned, and now it was being killed. Like this human had run over it and hadn't even cared about running over it, had just driven off, and its life wasn't important, it was abandoned and it was alone. And after this shift happened, or after getting into this subject, I began to see that that was my projection onto the animal, and that was my own fear of death and my own fear of that happening to me. It wasn't actually what the animal was experiencing. So in that moment, what the animal was experiencing was immense pain. But the animal didn't think the pain is happening to me, that I'm going to die, that I'm alone, that I've been abandoned from God. The animal was in God, like God was holding it in life. It was hugging it. It had never left that animal. And yes, the animal was in pain, but it didn't suffer in the way humans suffer. Humans are often projecting into events their own abandonment, and that's what makes things so terrible. So yeah, that animal was in pain, and I had compassion, and I went and paid for it to be looked after until it died, by the vets, and it was put on morphine and everything. And I would have paid for it to be mended if it could have been mended. And yeah, it was sad, like I think I cried for the dog, but it's not suffering like we imagined. So when you see human cruelty, and my God, do we do terrible things to animals, terrible things. Like I remember hearing about this delicacy in Thailand where they eat a monkey's brain while the monkey's alive. Like they attach it to this table, the monkey, and then they open up its brain, and then people eat it while the monkey's still alive. And it's like a delicacy in China, in Thailand. I mean, it's terrible what we do to animals. It's so sad that we think that we have the right to do this to animals. And I'm sorry if you're a meat eater, not to tell anyone off or shame anyone, and it's not your fault. Like, that's the way humanity is appearing. But if you think that in the West that it's okay to eat animals because we treat them okay, it's really not. If you were to go inside factory farming, which most animals are factory farmed in Europe, and if you went to the slaughterhouses and seen the way they were treated, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's really not kind. It's not love, and it's not kind, and that can only come from separation. We can only do that to our environment, to nature, and to other animals when people are desperately afraid of not having money and totally cut off from feelings. People that eat it can't connect that, so they can't look at their piece of meat and they can't think this really comes from suffering, so they eat it and they haven't got any connection to it. So I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, and I'm not saying that anyone's guilty. Like, you are just acting out, and if you eat meat, and you are acting out your conditioning and your up-to-date conditioning and your genetics, and you're not a sinner. Nobody is a sinner. But it is a terrible cruelty of what we do to animals. I don't actually disagree with eating animals, but I disagree in the way in which we treat them before we eat them. Like, we should honor our animals that we eat. Like, anything we eat, we should honor it. Like we're taking that energy in order to grow ourselves. So I'm not devaluing that and saying it isn't really horrible, those things, but what we project onto them isn't what's actually happening. Like, they're connected to source, so they're in a way in love, even if they're in pain, even if they're not allowed to move because their cage is so small. When they go to the slaughterhouse, they're not killed properly, and they lay for hours amongst their friends. They're dead friends now. Like, I'm not laughing at that, but if people really saw what went on in slaughterhouses, it's really terrible. It's not kind in any way. But they don't have this idea that it's happened to them. So there's simply pain, which is very different from identifying and believe it's happening to them. So being in a story. So that's very different. So what you're doing is you're projecting and you're seeing yourself in that cow, or you're seeing that yourself in that horse, or you're seeing that yourself in these animals. And that's a lie, that's illusion. So these animals that you see are suffering is actually yourself suffering. They're free. They experience pain, yes. But who is this they? Who is this person you think that experiences pain? It's beingness, and beingness is always free. I don't know if that helps anything. I have to go to the toilet. Excuse me while I go and relieve my bladder. Hello. Hello, I'm back. Hello, Jordan. Hello, Lisa. It's so beautiful to hear such a freedom again. Even if you speak about pooping in the middle of the town, there is so much love coming. Wish you a beautiful year. Thank you for the talk. Thanks, Jordan. I wish you a beautiful year too. I'm listening to you right now. I think we really are all God. Individually and collectively, choosing to experience whatever. It's not because you ultimately have no appearance that there is no doer. You really do create everything as is. Yeah, but who is this you that creates? I agree with you that you are the creator, but it's not that you are the creator in the way that you think you are. This you isn't an identity. This you is no thing. The creator is no thing, which is who you truly are. So in every moment you could say you are creating this life. But it's not a choice either, because choice appears in this life. It's beautiful. I love that. Hello, Mare. I don't know how to say your name. Marie, maybe Marie? Hello, Lisa. Much gratitude to what you are doing. Please can you make some comments about the new situation on Earth, such as war, fire, on and on. It's hard for me not to think about it. Well, firstly, do not watch the news. Do not watch the news. There's so many beautiful things happening on this planet that aren't reported on the news. The news is just like doom and gloom and doom and gloom and doom and gloom. It's like a really sick mentality, the news. It's like basically what we're going to do is we're going to go around the planet and we're going to report all the bad things that happen, and we're going to call that the 6 o'clock news. Dum 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 boom. And there's so many beautiful things. I remember for a while, and on Facebook I think you see it as well, like unsubscribe to all these dark channels, like you can maybe listen once a week to some of it, but there's also beautiful things happening. I remember once when I was on Facebook, I don't really go on so much, but when I was, I like subscribed to the good news because there's so many beautiful things that happen. It's like a mentality, and fear sells. So that's how it's manifested. It's not dark and bad, but if they put fearful things on the news and dark things on the news, then it sells because everyone's like, oh! So don't listen to it. I'm thinking of Trump and what he is doing and goodwill. Okay, yeah, I know Trump's done some terrible things, like he did that in the Middle East. I suspect he did it. I only heard it briefly. I didn't really watch much of it, but I heard it when I was coming into the room when my mum had the news on. And just what I would say about it is I suspect that what America's doing is manipulating the stock market. And I suspect that we really, as bystanders, don't understand it at all, what's happening. It's way bigger than what we can understand. So even though the Iranian are reporting back and really angry with the American, it could all be that they're conspiring to manipulate the stock markets, like both sides. Like I just wouldn't trust it at all. They could even be in a pact, conspiracy, like they using that, and then there's nothing better for the economy than war. I know that sounds terrible, but I think that's not truthful, because nothing could be truthful, but it's nearer to the truth maybe than that Trump has done this and attacked Iran. I mean, he has, but we don't know the background to it and what's happening on the stock market and economy. I just wouldn't trust the news. Could be that like it's all hoax. Like my mum went to China recently, and she was telling me about how in this big square there was this big massacre by the Chinese government, and the Chinese don't know about it because the government covered it all up and then told Chinese people different story, and then all the people that were there were so terrified of the Chinese government they never told anyone. So the younger generation, even though it only happened in 1989, the younger generation think it was an accident, or they think it was conspiracy and it didn't really happen. Whereas the rest of the world has footage of it happening. I mean, I don't know, the footage could be manipulated. But basically, like, I wouldn't trust what your government's telling you. Like, politics is politics. Like, the media doesn't tell the truth. The media is being controlled by politics. That's why you have left and right papers. So whatever paper that you read or whatever news station is being controlled by money, by people that are putting money into it to tell a story from a particular angle. So they're telling the story from a left or a right perspective. So, but okay, but even so, say if we do go into war, if there is a big war, maybe we wipe ourselves out. Maybe there's terrible things that happen, and that's the way of it. It also happens all the time in nature with thunderstorms or lightning or hurricanes. It's happening. It doesn't need to happen, but we've got it. We've got it coming in a way. We've got to face these things because we've got this problem of global warming. So there is going to be some form of falling out. Like I'm in London at the moment, and yesterday when I was my mum actually lives a bit outside London, but yesterday when I went into London, I was wearing a light jacket and I was warm at points. And when I lived in London 10 years, I never remember being in January being able to wear a light jacket around London. It's beyond being a coincidence. We can all see it so drastically. But whatever comes is the perfect play of things. It doesn't mean that you don't, if you have the urge to protest, that you don't protest, that you don't do political actions. But in the end, it's the play of life. And it's the perfect play, however it happens. We don't know the grand scheme of things or the grand play out. I mean, it could be that that's the big finale in all of our dreams. Like war is the big finale, which really like implodes the dream. You don't know the reason or the cause or what's happening. Like to really be able to stand and see through war that it's illusion. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, Maya, illusion, presented heaven and hell. And the way that Maya presented heaven and hell was through war, through sexuality, through virgins, through torture, through disease, through famine, through destruction. It's seeing all of its illusion. It's not true, it's not true, it's not true. It's a war to the dog, to the wind, to the bird. Thank you for your question, Marie. And I apologise for what Trump did. I know that he's American and not English, but I apologise. America came from England. And I kind of feel very connected to America. And it's like a Western mentality. And England is very, very much following the footsteps of Trump. And I apologise for that mentality. If you are Iranian, you look like you might be. Yeah. Another question. My husband left me years ago, horribly. There are times that I totally get it, that it was only happening in all God's will, and there is nothing to forgive. But there are times over and over again that I'm still angry and I want revenge and can't forgive. Please can you comment on these feelings which arise and how to handle them? Love you. Thanks, Marie. You are American, I think. Oh no, you're British. Marie, you really can't tell by your name. Somebody's locate somebody's country anymore. So what you have to come down to is the feeling of the blame towards him and the chaos. Most of the time it's not to do with him anymore, even though you think it is. It's to do with stress or to do with your habit in your body. It just goes on to him because he maybe did the worst or the most meanest things to you or shocked you. And so your mind goes back onto that. But it's a habit of the mind to be fearful or to be in anxiety or to be hateful or to be blameful, or to be blaming. And it's seeing that it's illusion, that it's not true. So you get that blame in your body, so you've got to see where it comes from. So you start imagining revenge, or you start imagining what he did and what you'd love to say to him one day, or how you'd love to see him fail, whatever it is. And you feel that in the heart or the solar plexus, and just really, really giving it space, like letting it come up. And see that it's not true. The feeling arises. So you've got the thoughts, and then really seeing that the feeling's not true, and not running away from it, giving it space to be there. And not being afraid of your hatred or your revenge towards him. So it's not like trying to ignore it and trying to pull yourself out of it. It's allowing it to be there and see, and you can even let it speak, let yourself shout out what you hate about him, what you want to do to him. Like, really allow the feeling to be there. Don't deny it in any way. I am originally Iranian, but been in the UK for the last 19 years. How nice. Yes, I'm sorry for what Trump did to Iran. I also know that it's way beyond me being able to understand politics. There's so much that's happening behind the scenes. And then once you've really allowed it to be there and really like letting, because you're letting the energy out of your body, it's like a habit, then really coming back to seeing that there is no guilty one. You know, one thing that happened to me, or one thing that happened to me, or something that I've always been on the side of, like, I'm such a strong empath, and you know, when I was 9 or 10 years old, I used to build these cages and sit in them as a protest to my mum and dad. I became a vegetarian when I was 8, and I used to protest, and I remember, like, I'd say, I won't come out of these cages until we go to the pet shop and let all the animals out of the cages, or till you stop eating meat, or whatever it was. I was so sensitive. And what I did as a spiritual practice, this sounds really crazy. It is crazy. I am crazy. I purposely allowed myself to do something bad. Like, it wasn't like really bad. It wasn't hurting or killing or anything like that. But I just wanted to do something mean. Like, I remember, like, the meanest thing I'd lose my temper and be really mean to people, but that would seem different. Like, losing my temper was like I was out of control and I was responding to something. But I allowed myself to be bad in the sense that, you know, I did something bad consciously, or what we deem as bad consciously. And everyone's going to be like, what was it? I'm not going to tell you. And this was actually really liberating in a way. I suddenly got a moment of like, oh God, now everyone's going to say that I told them to do bad things. So sometimes a little bit of paranoia or fear comes up in me that, like I get in trouble for being too much anarchy. Because I am that character. Like, I've tried everything and pushed everything. And it was so beautiful for me to do because, like, you know, once when I did it, like, there's nothing, I couldn't have done it any other way. And I could see how the other person, like, I know I did it consciously, but I could just see how the other person can't help what they did. You know, as time went on, I saw that I had these thoughts to do it, and I did it, and it couldn't. And then as time went on, I looked back at it, I saw that I couldn't take that back, and I couldn't I couldn't have done it any other way. I had these thoughts that came up, that appeared, and I had this energy that wanted to act that out, and then did it. And then it kind of shifted or did something beautiful inside of me, which aided that energy towards the other. But that the other cannot help it. You know, if you're always the one that's the good girl, or always doing the good thing, and always the victim, then, you know, you think, I couldn't do that, or I couldn't do things like that. But then when you have done something bad, you're like, oh yes, I could. I could do it. I'm not saying do anything bad or illegal. I'm not giving anyone any advice. I'm just talking about my own experience, and I'm not going to tell anyone what I did. It wasn't illegal, but it was not nice. Not nice. So this is also another reflection that you can do, like really understanding that when thoughts and impulses and conditions and genetics arise, you couldn't have done anything differently, and that none of us have any moral high ground. None of us know what's going to be typed into us. Life's suddenly going to be like, that's the typewriter, and just write out a script for you, and then you're going to be the baddie. Bad one. Go to your bed. Stay in your bedroom. Thank you for your question. I think it's getting quite late now. And there's lots of people that I haven't answered. So if I haven't answered your question, then I will do a stream on Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. And you're welcome to join me then and ask the question then. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for everyone that's participated in this live stream and asking questions. It's really beautiful to share with you. I really appreciate it. Oh, pardon me. What a way to end. I've been storing that one up. My apologies. Yeah, have a beautiful day or evening or morning, whatever time it is. Lots of love. Au revoir. Nishrachi.